What's up, y'all? Kofi Kingston here, and I would love to have a drink with Wrestling on the Rocks, depending on what that drink is, preferably non-alcoholic, you know?
How's it going? Tell us who are you, James?
Soda.
I would love to have a drink with Wrestling on the Rocks.
Maple syrup.
I would never have a drink with Wrestling on the Rocks.
Welcome to the dive bar of the IWC. Welcome to Wrestling on the Rocks, episode 1. Again, I'm at Ref Marsh. We're at WOTR, the show. With me today, this isn't quite a Thursday Night Chaser, but it's pretty close. Me, Miss Amanda Jane. How you doing, Miss Amanda Jane?
Not too bad, not too bad. I didn't recognize Evil Uno over here because he's wearing a white mask.
We're watching Dynamite live right now. We're in the thick of it. We're here because you punked up. CM Punk at the Scrum after All Out decided to go ahead and ruin everything that had been handed to him on a silver platter. He should be thanking John Cena online for giving him, so much of a career he could double back on it and still fuck it up. But we're here to talk about the Scrum, the fallout. We're watching AEW Dynamite live. Death Triangle just won the Trios Championship because the Elite had to forfeit it. They had to vacate it because they are also involved in the shenanigans. Wrestling's crazy right now, and I'll be honest with you, as a tried and true AEW hater, I'm actually really excited for the future of AEW right now because I think that this is a massive moment for them. I was saying it that night, no matter what happens next, everything is different in AEW moving forward. It's going to change the morale of people. It's going to change the decision of people. It's going to change the way that fans are watching it, for better or for worse. And to be honest, we'll get into it, but the perception, the possibility of an AEW without the Bucks, without Omega, and without Punk, to me is pretty exciting because they've been such a focus for so long. It's really going to open up a lot of space for people to step up. And I think that's pretty cool based off who's there. Amanda, how you doing?
Not too bad. Knows Kip Sabian still put the box back on his head, so
Good, he should. I think it's funny. He's been wearing that box on his head for over a year that says underrated and over it.
And then
He
got
finally
on
takes
it.
the box off after 2 years to have a match and then loses it. And you go, maybe you're not underrated, dude. You lost. You know what I mean? Like in a kayfabe world, maybe you're actually bad. Maybe there's a reason.
Who knows? Who knows? I don't know. But I will say I'm kind of glad Tony Storm won, because I think even though yes, she doesn't remember a lot of the names of her coworkers during the scrum.
Oh, yeah, that was funny.
Damn. Serena Deeb, and I know she worked with Serena Deeb at one point. Come
But
on,
she did
girl.
say that was the one that she was trying to think of.
Yeah.
A lot was going on. She was going emotional. Real
I know
quick,
there's a lot of.
before we get into the nitty gritty of it, what's in your glass? What are you drinking?
Well, you know what? I need to do this one sober today because
Okay.
lots of opinion, and I don't want to be clouded in judgment. I'm only
fine.
just drinking regular Coke.
That's fair. I am, in honor of CM Punk, going to drink
Pepsi?
wine. Because he
Oh.
was whining all fucking night. So, and for a straight edge guy, he sounded way fucking drunk that night. Way drunk. It was really weird. I watched it a couple times just being like, not just the audio of the distortion making his voice sound deep, the way he was rattling off, the mannerisms, the way he couldn't focus, the way he was just there with a chip on his shoulder just ready to go. Like, we can talk about it the way it started. Starts off, and the Denise Salcedo video is the one that has the audio that opens it up, because the AEW official video didn't have that full audio. They say, Nick, we're going to start with you. And he goes, hi, I'm Nick Hausman from Wrestling Inc. And Punk just goes, Nick, I'll start. And he's all like, oh, okay. And he's like, no, I'll start, Nick. And then he goes, who here fancies themselves a journalist? And they all raise their hand. He goes, oh, you think you're a journalist, Nick? And then he was like, I try my best. And he's all like, do you still do improv? And he goes, it's been a while. And he goes, well, when you did do improv, who'd you do it with? And he's all like, he knew where he was going. He knew what was happening. So he goes, I did improv with Colt Cabana, you know. And they never referred to him as Colt Cabana this whole time, Scott Colton, which I think is very notable, because that means it's definitively not a storyline. This is just a thing. And he goes, so you're friends with Scott? And he goes, you still talk to him? He goes, no, I haven't talked to him in a long time. He goes, and he said, me and Scott don't see eye to eye. So whatever, Nick and Scott don't get along. Whatever, happens. Punk goes, well, that makes two of us. So then he rattles on about Colt, and we'll talk about that. But for that to be the intro, for him to come at Nick because he thinks that Nick is an irresponsible reporter. And it was funny because he said, are you friends with him? And Nick says, I'm not friends with either of you. I don't talk to either of you guys. Like, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? Nick handled it professionally. He handled it fantastically. He kept his poise in a situation where he was literally being attacked by the face of this company for the only fact being that Nick did improv in Chicago at the same time that Colt Cabana did. And so in his mind, he concocted this whole situation where Colt is feeding Nick all this negative information about CM Punk and, quote, making it up. There is nothing CM Punk said that night that was in any way going to make me take his side in any of this, to the point where it's all like, maybe people did make it up. It's like, no. It sounds like more true than ever before. Where before there was a shadow of doubt of maybe these might be rumors, this might be one-sided too. This is an asshole. Maybe he's an asshole backstage too. Maybe there's a reason no one's listening to you. Maybe you're hard to listen to. Maybe you were never the top guy. I wonder if Paige would listen to Triple H and Cena, because I bet you he would take advice from them. I know I would before I would take advice from Punk. I thought it was absolutely insane. He walks into this thing looking for Nick Hausman because that's the guy he wants to attack. Knowing Nick Hausman as well as I do, and it's not super well, we don't talk all the time, but I worked with him at Wrestling Inc. for a while. He's been very good to me. I worked with him on Xbox Podcast, obviously. Very good guy. Been very good to me. Someone coming at Nick like that to start with, I was like, oh, you're an asshole who thinks you has something that doesn't. And that's why you're coming with that attitude, because you think you have something that you don't. And I think that's kind of the story of CM Punk. If you really want to get into it on that. But What did you think? What did you think of all that stuff?
Well,
Right now we got Tony versus Penelope happening live. If anybody's watching Dynamite on the West Coast.
first of all, I'd like to say on episode 1 and 1 and 1 and 1, for anybody who ever knows me, knows where what my side of the bread is buttered.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people thought I was full of shit. I don't want to say I told you so, but I did tell you so. And it's funny to me that anybody who knew the situation, whether it was one side or the other, the people who were on, and I'm going to call him Phil, as I normally do, the people that were on Phil's side all got something out of it. Joey Mercury, he bought Joey Mercury a couple $100,000 home. That's way more money than he ever gave Colt Cabana, unless he's like poking at the Colt Cabana tax without, whatever. Ace Steel. I'm sure people aren't banging down the door to hire Ace Steel anywhere. Where was Ace working? Ace wasn't even in the business. He hasn't been in the business for quite a long time.
No.
So you got to see the people who are on that team. And to be quite honest, I think a lot of his selfishness really kind of started when he started dating AJ Lee. He did a lot of people dirty. He did Amy Dumas very dirty, not once but twice. Beth Phoenix, but she upgraded, so good on you, girl. But it was weird to me because the one person who didn't like Colt around was April. It was even quoted, and I was told this before, that she had said on numerous occasions, I don't know why he's over here every day making a dent in the couch. Because yeah, he has certain spot he sat in and whatever. I mean, most people who do know, they know you don't sit in that spot. That's Colt's spot on the couch. So that's where I kind of stem a lot of this. Was Punk ever a good guy? No. You can ask ex-girlfriends of his. You can ask a lot of people. But the only people who really take his side are people who want something from him, someone he buys off, or I don't know, whatever. This is what it was. And I think that Tony, he is Tony. He got a lot of money off of Tony. But Tony Khan is too stupid to realize what's going on. And I really hope that Tony realizes the magnitude of what he's done. Because he sure as hell, and I said in episode 1 before, AEW is not what it was supposed to be. Cody hightailed it out of there. Because
did you go back and some people were sharing it. It's Cody Rhodes' last promo in the company right before the ladder match. He cut a promo that was basically on CM Punk. And I remember at the time, we probably talked about it too, it seemed weird, out of place. It was about Cody, but his match was with Sammy, and it seemed kind of all over the place. During that promo, the crowd is shitting on him the whole time. Shut the fuck up. Cody sucks. It's crazy. And you can see at a certain point, he looks in the audience and he's like, fuck. And it made me feel that much happier for Cody. That the environment had become so toxic for him backstage, toxic for him on stage, in ring, that he got to WWE and got the reception that he got. It must have felt so good. And so it's also funny when you look at the last promo of Cody in AEW and the first promo of Cody in WWE. The last promo, he cuts on CM Punk and he goes, when CM Punk left, he promised a revolution. He promised these matches. He made a list of things he wanted to do, like team with the Bucks and face Omega. And he goes, literally everything on that list, he never saw through, but I did. And he goes, I harvested the revolution with you guys. Like, we made that reality happen. This guy's full of talk. He's absolutely no action. He's a fake version of who I actually am, is what that promo more or less said. Some of those words are literally out of his thing. Some of them are not. His first promo, because he even says, I was told not to cut this promo tonight by some, but I don't know if I'll ever get the chance to say this again. So he just rips apart CM Punk and his fake revolution and the things that his false promises, his never following through with what he said he would do and never actually doing any of it. And Cody saying that he's a man of his word and does these things for a reason for everybody. His first promo, first few lines in WWE, you know, some would think it was a difficult decision to leave AEW. It was not. Or to sign with the WWE, it was not. It was not a difficult decision. And you look at that last promo, the way the crowd's treating him, what he's saying in his voice, the reality of CM Punk coming through and what's already happening backstage, I'm sure it was easy. Yeah. I know he always wanted to go back to WWE, and we said that on episode 1. When we were first talking about it, I was like, I bet he's leveraging this. We talked about it on Double or Nothing. The first thing he did was leverage a storyline with Triple H by breaking the throne. I was like, if you watch everything he's doing, he's trying to have a match with Triple H at WrestleMania when he goes back. And I still hold firm to that. But I also think that if things were different, the decision would have been difficult. If things were different, he may have put it off another couple years. But things were what they were, where he said, yep, now's the time. Absolutely, now's the time.
He couldn't
gone too far away.
Because I think that, and it's interesting to me.
Look, I'm gonna do my CM Punk impression and eat in a microphone.
Are you eating muffins?
I'm having baked goods. I have baked goods. If you guys like Molly, look, I'm like CM Punk. I'm eating a microphone. Fucking hate that guy.
One of the things that kind of actually the most shocking thing to me is really the actions of the Young Bucks, because I've been around the Young Bucks quite a bit, and they are they're really good people. Now some people might think, oh, you're just whatever because you have a side. I'm like, no, they're really good people. And like, when you could really see it like on, like with like, if you, well, I don't want to really say with BT, but just like on the first Jericho cruise, for example, with the whole family was there. All of, Matt's kids, Nick's kids, Papa and Mama Buck, and, all that. And they actually are they're a really great family, and they're really cool people. Brandon Cutler, that was the first time I've ever really seen Brandon Cutler around.
You have, in fairness, always defended the Young Bucks against me talking shit on them. You've always said they were good people.
They always have been good people. So for this to happen, it shocks the shit out of me, because that's not a behavior that I would ever expect for them. It's not because, they're goody two shoes or anything. No, it's the values that they have, their moral compass and their values and things like that. Because it must have gotten so bad to the point of, if they're sitting there and, this is all like toxic garbage back there, and they're standing up for themselves, then something really fucked up happened back there.
Yeah, and to create context, I don't know that anybody doesn't know, but just to create the context. So after CM Punk goes on to trash Hangman Page, all the time sitting right next to Tony Khan, calling him an empty-headed dumb fuck, when he says these people who call themselves EVPs and couldn't run a Target, which, by the way, Targets are not easy to run.
No,
Retail
I wouldn't want to.
Itself is pretty tough. I don't want to run a Target. That'd be fucking impossible. Are you kidding me?
Oh my God, now Targets have Ulta Beauty inside. They have another store within a store, and then they have the damn CVS pharmacy. There's a lot of shit going on in Target.
You also know who's never run a Target? CM Punk. You know what he's also never done? He's never been an EVP of a company. He's also never run a company. He's never done anything but take from other people whatever they're willing to give him.
Exactly.
The other thing he's done is he was proven wrong by WWE every single time.
Yeah.
He's never even been a top guy. He's been the guy under the top guy.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but he's making the most money because that's what he demanded and what he wanted.
And he was saying that these guys have never done a damn thing in the business, so completely negating everything that's happened with AEW before he ever showed up. Tony Khan tried to say something, and he said, "I'm trying to." CM Punk stops Tony from talking, talks over and says, "I'm trying to run a fucking business here." Are you? More so than Tony? Because the money that's in this company is Tony's, right?
Actually, it's his father's, but
it's his father's. It's his father's money. Well, then, I mean, he also trashes Colt for sharing a bank account with his mother, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But he's at the same time sitting next to Tony, who's sharing a bank account with his dad. So I don't know. But after all this stuff is said over and over and over again, no matter what question they ask, he turns it back around and to talk trash about one of the EVPs. And he says, if someone's got a fucking problem with me, come find me. Let's hash it out. He goes back there, and they come find him to hash it out. He locks himself in his door. Apparently, the Young Bucks super kick the door down. And there's a scuffle back there. So far, some of the reports we've heard is that Kenny removed the dog Larry out of the room because he was barking and didn't want the dog to get hurt. Turns around and gets bit by Ace Steel. Ace pulls Kenny's hair. CM Punk throws a chair at Nick Jackson and hits him in the face. It's not a fucking thing, so there's no camera. Although someone says Brandon Cutler records most of what the Young Bucks are doing, but I gotta imagine if they're going to confront him, I gotta imagine they're not recording it because they're not going to use it for BTE, you know. But an all-out brawl takes place there. The idea that the Young Bucks could be driven to actually physical confrontation, actually fight, seems wild to me. The fact that CM Punk may have actually knocked somebody out also seems crazy to me because we know that fucker can't fight. We've seen him lose to guys from catering in the UFC ring. He lost so bad to somebody who was also so bad that Dana White fired them both. He was so bad at fighting that the guy who beat him lost his job because he didn't beat him up harder. Dana White said he's so bad he should have been able to clinch this 2 rounds earlier. If you can't beat the shit out of that Weasley piece of shit, then you're not good enough to be here. They both got fired. That's how bad a fighter he is. Jeremy in Time does say, whose first decision in a fight is to bite someone? Yeah.
A wood. A guy who has no fucking balls.
That's true. Also, Tyson bit Holyfield because he was afraid his face was going to get fucked up. Kenny was trying to get a dog out of the room and got bit by the human.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking maybe Kenny was trying to get the dog out of the way so the dog wouldn't bite anybody.
Yeah. He's like, I don't want this dog to bite someone. And Ace is all like, you're not free from biting yet, pal.
Yeah. Like Army Hammer 2.0 over here. Someone's a cannibal. Glad Colt's not friends with you anymore.
Yeah. Insane.
Glad.
Insane. Yeah. I don't want anything happen to this dog. I want this dog biting anybody. Ah!
Hair pulling. This is like girl fighting. You know, I've seen better girls fight on World Star, you know, in like a Waffle House or something.
That's a good point. You know? Waffle House fights definitely do not have hair pulling.
I swear to God, if this fight ends up on World Star, first of all,
yeah. Do you think Ace Steel took his heels off first and his hoop earrings before he pulled someone's hair and bit them?
No. You don't know. He ain't that ghetto. No.
He took out his hoops.
Like, no. That would be a Nick Jackson move.
Yeah. Nick Jackson taking out the big hoops and his nose chain.
Yeah, he's hold on. Yeah.
So yeah, it was insane and so crazy unprofessional in such a bad way. And I know people were trying to say that Page was unprofessional when he went off script and started going into business for himself, talking shit on Punk. And then Punk went out and did the same thing and, quote, lowered himself to that same level. Let's say that Hangman Page being, quote, unprofessional, which, by the way, when you have CM Punk coming into the ring who's, like, famous for going off script, and that's what everyone wants to believe he always does. And when he first came in, he goes, I want to throw these guys curveballs in the ring on the mic so they have to react, because I think these people aren't used to that. And they all did that back in his face better than he was doing it. I think that frustrated him. just being pummeled out there by these fucking dudes.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to say Paige started it by being unprofessional there, fine. Punk then went out and did it on air and called him a coward and wouldn't let, when he knew he couldn't come out and defend himself. Fine. Even Steven. We both did something unprofessional. We both talked shit in front of the crowd. Do you like it? No. Right? Punk went a step further to take the half of a media scrum with all the newsletters to trash people not involved, to trash people and everything about the business that they've been running before he got there, to trash the guy sitting next to him. He took it to a different height of unprofessionalism. This wasn't a promo to build a match where someone got too personal. This was a dude not trying to build a match, trying to trash A, the reporters in the room, B, a guy he got booted out of the fucking company, trying to pretend like, I don't care where he works or where he doesn't work. I think you care if he's around you. You clearly do. You clearly care, because that's all you wanted to talk about today, Punk. You care about this more than anything in your life. You care. You care so much you got him booted into ROH. And Colt, sitting home playing video games, probably doesn't even care. He's probably laughing about it in some ways. He's out there talking trash on him. He's talking trash inadvertently to Tony. Tony looks uncomfortable as fuck. He's fucking licking his fingers of this fucking frosting, chewing on fucking cupcake, cracking these fucking seltzer waters like he's a badass and sounding drunk when he's straight edge. Like, what the fuck is the matter with you, dude? Every minute I watched this, I was like, who the fuck is this dude and who wants to be in the same room as him ever? So yeah, the idea that he's potentially suspended, fantastic. The idea that he may not work there anymore, amazing.
I told you so.
Producer lady pulled up our review of the first episode he came back, and we've been back and forth on if we should post it online as a social media clip, because I was like, I don't know, we were a little rough on him. I mean, we're being rough on him now. It's like we're a little rough because people were saying in the chat even it's going to be good for business. It's good for business. And I was like, I feel like he's bad for business. He's a toxic person. And then here we are exactly 1 year later, and he's instigating fights with literally everybody in the company. It's fucking crazy. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, there's a reason why he only has a very few number of friends.
Yep.
And he has an ugly dog and all that shit. And everyone's like, he leaves the dog out of it.
Mm-hmm.
No. If I were his dog, I'd run away. But
yeah,
that's just me.
I mean, the dog also let Kenny just pick him up and move him. So
yeah. So I mean, here's what kind of rubs me the wrong way about this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Is that, first of all, I feel really bad for Nick Howland.
Yeah.
Because people tried to say, oh no, you baited him. No. The name Cole Cabana did not come out of his lips. Neither did
Ever.
Scott Colton. And I know why he kept calling him Scott Colton. Because he's trying to tell the internet crowd that you can call him Scott Colton.
Yeah.
Because Colt fucking hates that.
Yeah.
Hates that. And I will say that I've been invited to call him the S word, but I don't. I don't know. I technically don't know. Well, I'll just say it this way. I don't know Scott Colton. I know Colt Cabana, but I know when Colt Cabana is not Colt Cabana and he's Scott Colton, and yeah, he'll probably fucking hear this and go, oh, I'm going to block your ass again. Because I'm right. Told you that before, Colt. You know. But the problem, I think the thing is that I don't know what bug Punk had up his ass. I mean, he's always had a bug up his ass, but something really hit it. And I don't know if it, I mean, I don't know where it stems from, really. Like, why now? Why now? A year later.
Yeah, and I love that shit where he kept being like, I shouldn't have to be out here saying this. I shouldn't be defending myself in 2022. It's like, no one asked you to.
You're the one who did it.
You brought it up.
Yeah. And then with him going off on MJF too, and I was like,
yeah.
he did what you probably would have done yourself, but he did it better. Why? Because he actually got his shit, right? And I'm sure it's pretty obvious that when Punk walked away with that title back in the day after Money in the Bank, which, yes, if you go back, people, if you did not know, the two dudes that were sitting ringside during that match was Ace Steel and Colt Cabana. I know I had said Colt before because he had to wear a dress shirt, and yeah, he doesn't like to be told what to do, and he had a tie on too. But anyways, it's like, okay, well, I'm sure like Vince didn't like grovel. Probably Vince didn't even want to deal with him at first. But you have to after a while, because it's a yapping dog, and you gotta shut up the dog after a while. But he didn't do it smart. He didn't. And people should have realized that then. But I don't know. It's weird to me. But like I said, there was no reason for him to take out all of this shit on everybody. I mean, I don't. Yeah, I get that you still have issues with your former friend, but also I must say, he's not a very smart man, because his dates were very wrong on a lot of things. When he said, "Oh, I've been friends with him for over a decade," over a decade, wasn't that Money in the Bank and the Summer of Punk and all that bullshit 10 years ago, if I'm not mistaken? Okay. So you weren't friends with him then. Okay. All right. Okay. That's over a decade. Okay. Don't get that one, but
What's funny is
And
someone
then-
pulled up the old clip of Nick Hausman catching CM Punk on the outside of the trial because he was there, and he kept referring to Colt as his friend. And that was in 2017, 2018, right?
2017, 2018.
20,
Yep.
yeah. And so for him to be like I haven't talked to him since like 2013, 2014. Okay, well, you're off by years. You're years
Okay,
wrong.
because first of all, the podcast came out Thanksgiving weekend 2013. The two-parters. One was one day, one was the next day. And if you're like, why do you because I had in my head, when he had said that immediately, I was like, wait a minute, this was the second time I'd watched it through. I had to stop because I'm like, no, I don't think your facts are right, Phil. And again, I was right. And I don't know the year he started dating his wife, but I do know when they recorded that podcast, because they had to wait for all the NDA to end and all that stuff, so then he could open his mouth. He was still going out with Amy, because she was there. And I remember, I don't know why I knew that, but maybe they had said something, or she had said something, or Punk had said something to her. Colt didn't edit it out, but whatever. But it's interesting to me because I'm like, you don't have your facts straight. But and with him, and I have all these receipts.
Yeah.
I'm like, do you have the receipts that Cabana has about how you kept telling him, I've got you, I'll take care, I got this, I'll take care of it, blah blah blah, and then when you were an Indian giver with it. And the only reason, from what I've been told, that he stopped giving him money was I had heard the wife had said something. And I don't know if that's completely true, but that's what I've heard. I've heard it from two different people.
But the other thing that's weird about all that is that he's like, Colt shares a bank account with his mom. That tells you all you got to know. No, it doesn't. It tells me that there's a very good chance he was taking care of his mom and didn't want her to worry about things like money. You know what I mean? Like, it's not some random dude living in a basement. It's a successful man taking care of his mother. You know what I mean? He's not living in her basement for his whole life. He's made money.
He's had his apartment
Yeah, he's made plenty of money and doesn't want his mom to worry about money ever again. And so when Punk then goes, "Oh, once we found that out and we filed suit on her," he's suddenly like, "Oh, let's call this off." Yet you were suing his mother. You're the asshole. He's not the dumbass for sharing an account with his mom. You're the asshole trying to sue his mom because you realized you could. And now you're trying to say that he's some sort of man-child for taking care of his mother. That's how fucking dense Punk is. The idea of helping someone like your mother is a sign of weakness to him. Like, fuck that guy. It was crazy as I'm hearing him say this stuff. I'm looking around like, is other people getting he's a true villain? Like, he thinks that this is him.
Word. Don't use that word.
Oh, that's a good point. You don't like when I say villain. He's an actual bad guy. And not like that. He's a bully, a real life bully, where he really truly thinks that he's in the right, and everything he points to, you go, "You're insane. That's a good person thing to do." And you're like, "But they're maniacs." And like, no, you're the maniac. Like, it's crazy.
No. And I did think that was very bullshit of him to bring up his mom, and especially because what he forgets to tell you. But gee, good old Marsha, as he said, yeah, good old Marsha used to do a lot of shit for you back in the day. So I mean, come on, bro.
He was fucking bogus, and that's what I mean. Like, to me, it didn't sound like CM Punk or Colt Cabana's taking money from his mom. No, Colt Cabana said, "You know what? Nobody's brought up, but you on our show."
And I
Colt's
will
fucking
say
ties
this.
to PWTs. Everyone keeps talking about how Colt is lucky to have a job, how he's lucky to be doing anything, how he should be thanking his lucky stars that Punk even let him be in Ring of Honor and all that shit. And I was like, you guys have no clue, really. Like, nothing. You guys don't think it's a bit peculiar that all of the fucking AEW shirts you get have a picture of Colt on the bag? Like, his face is part of their logo, dumbasses.
He's the goddamn fucking billboard. Go on his Twitter right now. That's his headline picture.
It's
one of the billboards.
That's what I mean. It's fucking crazy that people don't equate that at all as a thing. The idea that people are trying to say that, like, Colt should have buckled to Punk because he's lucky to have a job there because of Punk. And to think that PWTs was not a conversation at any point in time during his renegotiation. And the fact that they were saying that only assholes backstage came out and stood up for Colt. And I was like, I also have a feeling that their entire fucking merchandising system was at odds. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You want to fire the guy who's, like, putting money in everyone's pockets? You know what I mean?
And also, isn't the head person of merchandise or the VP of merchandise, isn't that one of these assholes' wives?
It's one of the Jacksons, yeah. One of the Jackson wives.
Yeah, it's.
I believe she's known as Miss Jackson. Woo! I am for real.
No, it's Dana. It's Matt's wife, and again,
Jackson.
That's another person.
I'm sorry,
really good people. Like I've only I've talked to Dana like a handful of times. And I'm not, I'm not I'm not one of these, but every time I see her, because she remembers me, Papa Buck remembers that, they all do. Like, she's always like, "Oh my God, how are you?" And gives me a big old hug, and we just like shoot the shit about stuff. And this was like kind of right when they got, like, the first time I ever met her and the Bucks was when Mania was in San Jose. Because they had a booth at WrestleCon and they were selling, when they first started their Young Bucks merch, they had these really cool sweatpants that were like camouflage, obnoxious with like there's some of the letters they were placed in the Young Bucks name was in like Japanese yen. There was Japanese yen around it. It was cool. But anyways, but these are guys, and I don't know if there's a jealousy that Punk, because he really is hot to say that Cole is jealous of him. Colt's never been jealous of him. Everyone always used to say Colt was the better wrestler of the two. Even Ace still said that. But Ace chose a side. Because why? Punk gave him money. Punk got him this job in AEW. So why would Colt want to be around that locker room? There was only one show that they were together, apparently. And that was in October of last year, October 27th, I believe is the date. And then after that, you never saw Colt again at AEW. And I'm pretty sure it wasn't Colt saying, well, I don't want to go there because he's there. Colt's kind of professional, even though, he's a man-child. Yes, he is a man-child. He's a mama's boy too, so come on, Punk. Really? Everybody knows that's Marsh's baby boy. He's the youngest of the two. Come on now. Don't be a hater just because you had no family. Real family. But anyways. But I don't see, I never saw Cabana having an issue. He would just go do his own thing. Because he knows better. He does not want that drama. He does not like that kind of shit. He doesn't. I know that. Hell, one time he blocked me on Twitter because there was some drama that I was involved in.
That's funny.
And he blocked me. That was the first time he blocked me.
Yeah.
And he's a good guy because that first StarCast, over 150 people went up to him at his little table, said, you need to unblock Amanda.
Yep.
Yeah. And then I get a DM that later that day, I unblocked you. Yeah, I said, yeah. And he goes, boy, you sure know a lot of people.
But then, so all this stuff goes down. It's a mess. I think people should watch it. I would suggest watching the Denise Salcedo videos because her angle was better. The AEW version had a tight camera on Punk a lot, where since Denise was a little further back into the side, you could see Tony the whole time.
Yeah,
there's even a point where Tony's trying to put over about how MJF is back. And then CM Punk, thinking he's cool and clever, goes, because he just keeps wanting me to work with these fucking pricks. And then Tony rolls his eyes and closes his eyes and he goes, nevertheless, and keeps trying to say what he's saying because he's all fuck. You can see the look on his face over and over again, stop. This is not going to go well. And then it did not go well. For him to instigate a fight with people and then be surprised when they actually stepped up to him after he said, if you've got a problem with this, step up to me. And then they do. And he's like, whoa, where'd this come from? It's nope. You get to just sit there and take it now. I hope you're better at fighting than you say, or than we've seen. Because fuck, and you're brittle. He got hurt again. He got hurt again during this match. That's one of the reasons why the title's been vacated, is he hurt his shoulder doing a tope in the beginning of his match against Mox. He can't have a match without hurting himself. He can't dive into the audience without hurting himself. He's a brittle piece of shit. And he's starting to pick fights with dudes who may not know how to fight, but are probably a little less brittle. You know what I mean? That's all it really takes. You don't have to win a fight just to not lose a fight. You know what I mean?
Well, them damn young bucks, man, they're resilient. Yeah. And there's many injuries that both Nick and Matt have had combined, and then you add Kenny into the mix. Yep. I hope Kenny got a rabies shot.
Yep, he definitely needs one.
That's all I know. I'm
Glassjaw Brooks.
Shot? No, it was Ace that bit him. I'm rabies shot.
But Phil's a nice little Glassjaw Phil Brooks.
Yeah,
I want a T-shirt for that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's funny that the world is waiting for Colt to say something.
Yeah.
And he won't.
You know what he did do? He posted. Did you see what he posted?
No, when did this happen?
It was yesterday he posted.
No, hold on.
It was on his Instagram. I don't know if it's still up because it was an Instagram story.
Oh, damn it, Colt.
You know what it was? No one reported on it, and I feel like someone should have. But I saw it. He posted a flyer for a show he's going to be on in a couple of days.
Okay.
Somewhere in Chicago. I think that's notable because he's not talking shit. He's minding his own fucking business. And he knows this is happening. There's no way he has no idea.
He's going to be in Mall of America.
That's the one. He posted a flyer for that one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And then today
he posted a flyer for it.
The Salsa King of Chicago. It says local IG material. You go Colt Cabana, because
Right.
he's classy. He's
And that's what I'm
classy as
saying.
fuck.
People should be reporting that his response has been no response, him continuing business as usual. He's not coming out of the woodwork. Punk just spent 30 minutes of his life trying to trash Colt and who he is as a human. And Colt's response is, okay, if that's how you feel. You know what I mean? Like, he's not going out of his way to say, hey, I got a podcast and maybe I got a few things to say. Or I got a platform too, motherfucker. He's just saying, okay, go ahead and say that. I'm going to continue. If you don't care, like you said you don't care, you spend a lot of time caring, but I'm the one who actually doesn't care because I'm going to continue my life.
Yeah.
And just nothing but respect for the classiness of how Colt is handling it.
Also, if you go back to his podcast, when he switched over the art of wrestling, he was doing like more of a like journal type of thing. And there he was covering the trial.
Yeah.
And it was I'm gonna go back and listen to it again. But and I know this just because I know this, but around that time, and especially as it was getting close to getting to trial, I knew something was kind of wrong with Colt because he wasn't his normal jolly self. You know, there was like I don't want to say like a cloud, but there was a funk in the air. And you can tell that, you know, it was mental health related. You can tell. Well, you can tell in his voice, but even like before that, like I would see him at a show somewhere and you could sense it. Like I was like, this is taking more of a toll on him than he lets up. Yeah. And I do know that his family has a history of mental health problems.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it kills me because you can hear it in his voice. Like, you know.
You know who else knows that? Phil. Piece of shit.
Yeah. Well, Phil also, but Phil, this is at the time when they did trial, they weren't friends anymore. Because obviously, yeah, when you fuck someone over like that and then they sue you, you know. Yeah, I mean, they weren't friends. No, not anymore. At that point in time, he went at it alone. You know?
Yep.
So I mean, I don't know, but I just think that he's always been very classy about everything. And for as much shit as people like to shit on me about being a fan of his, or, you know, or whatever, or shit on him just because, it's like, he's a good dude. All right? Good dude. Sorry that you were sipping the CM Punk Kool-Aid, but whatever. And then I guess word was that he apparently tried to make amends with people, like Serena Deeb was one of them. I don't know how true that is, but I was reading that
After
somewhere
the
online. When he first arrived over there.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. I don't know what their issues, what issues she had with him, and what all of that was. That I don't know, because I didn't care for him then, don't care for him really now.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that he had a lot of people to make amends with, to be honest.
Yeah, that's
not a shock.
No, because a lot of the people he burned, like look what he tried to do to fucking Eddie Kingston.
Yeah.
You know?
Remember we even said, you could probably go back to episode 1, after every one of those promos that one of those dudes cut on Punk, remember every time I was all like, that felt like a pretty deep backstage cut, did it not? And you're like, yep. And for all that stuff to be coming out now, where people are all like, "Oh, I thought they were trying to sell the match." No one even thought it could have been. I was like, "Fuck out of here!
Get out of here!"
Yeah, they got to listen to the fart of wrestling. That's a
don't make fun of Colt's podcast name.
What? No, well, that's
well, actually, he might enjoy. He might enjoy that because he is someone that if you say balls,
he'll giggle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, see, that's what I'm saying. He's such an inspiration with the art of wrestling that I almost want to rename our show The Fart of Wrestling. Sort of an homage.
Yeah, but I would tell him
butthole mage is what you'd call it. A butthole mage.
Okay. All
right, Amanda told me I have to stop now.
Yeah, no.
She just got serious with me.
No. I'll have to tell you, Marsh, one day about the this is how I know how childish, yeah, Colt is. Man, child, still to this day. Except I did have a very adult conversation last time I saw him with him, and I'm like, oh my God, this is an adult conversation we're having. And he was like, you know what? You're right. I'm like, look at us. I'm like, more you, not me. And he's like, come on now. I go, okay, fine. Yeah. But, you know, like I said, you know, a lot of people thought I was crazy. No. I think maybe Tony probably thinks, man, maybe I should have Colt Cabana fight. Should have had him fight him.
It's going to be really awkward when CM Punk's going to have to go on Colt Cabana's podcast this time to trash AEW. Like, that's going to be a real awkward moment.
Oh, no, Colt would never allow that. That's his friends, remember? Those are his friends, the EVPs and la la la.
That's the joke of it. We'll have Punk on this one. We'll call it the fart of wrestling, and every time he tries to speak, we'll just cut him off. I'll be like, you're in no position to speak on your own behalf.
I'm like, Phil, you're not allowed to talk. Okay? And if you're going to eat muffins, you need to turn your screen off.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was foul. That was really foul.
It's also kind of interesting, too, because we're seeing all this stuff sort of come out this way. And I was saying when all the releases started happening at first that it felt really suspicious and peculiar that no one was going on to any podcast and having any of these tell-alls of why they left. It was all this really, really specifically worded responses to a lot of interviews. And I started saying, I wonder, it sounds to me and feels to me like their contracts include NDAs after the release. And I feel like that seems more true than ever at this point.
Well, you know, what's funny is I was going to mention this to you before, is that lately Joey Janela has been...
It's been a little more rambunctious online.
Yeah. Especially with that figure one, the figure posts. Yeah. But for him to put that give up to me, that spoke volumes. I'm like, yep.
Yeah, he's getting a little more rambunctious, and I don't know that it's because that his NDA is not valid or active. I think it's because he's just feeling a little bit like poking the line a little bit, finding where that line is.
Because look at what happened with him. I mean, all of a sudden he was gone, and it was like, why all of a sudden did these people vanish? And then all of a sudden here you have Phil come around, and it's like, well, you know.
I got the chance to see a startup contract not that long ago as I was consulting different things. And one of the things that a lot of startups and younger companies are doing nowadays is in their contracts, I didn't realize till I saw it, is protecting the brand clauses. I don't remember what they called it necessarily, but in there were clauses about not talking about the company in a negative light, that in perpetuity after you leave, that you are liable for any kind of slander against the company if it be deemed as negative. That if you sign this contract, that you are no longer allowed to be critical of the company in any negative way without expressed permission from the company, regardless of termination of contract. So I didn't realize that sort of verbiage existed in contracts until I got to read it, and I just feel like that. I feel like AEW's in that same ballpark of stuff. The other thing that we're hearing now too is the rumor that, just to shift gears slightly, we could obviously go back and forth. Malachi Black appears to have been granted his release, but it was a conditional release, and right now the rumor is that he is unable to sign another contract, specifically with WWE, for a minimum of 6 months, which. Fine. They talked about mental illness being the reason for him to leave, for him asking for his release, is wanting to work on mental health, which is also fine. I've seen people say, don't make this a WWE versus AEW thing. This is for his mental health. It's for the best. Yes, but let's be honest. If his mental health was Tony Khan's first priority, then he wouldn't have a 6-month non-compete. Right? I did see someone else say, like, this is good news because that means he's going to be assured to have to be getting paid for the next 6 months while he works on mental health. These are the same people who also want to trash WWE for having 90-day non-compete, which is paid. It's not an unpaid ability to go out. It's giving them 3 months paid to figure out their next moves, right? In the case of Renee Paquette, she had 1 year, which I thought was pretty... something felt like there was specifics and like that. I felt like there was some more digging in to be needed there, because a year is a long time, and I wonder if that wasn't negotiated on her behalf. Look, I don't want to work for a year. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't know. But to vilify one for having 90-day paid and then say the other one's doing the right thing by having a 6-month thing, because you want to say that one's taking care of mental health and one is not. If that person's concern is mental health, they'll release them from the contract and say, clean slate. Look, like if I'm trying to be good guy to somebody who says they need to step away from mental health, I'm cutting the contract and saying, here, look, I'll cut it clean. But this is what I want your word, that when you're ready to come back and wrestle, you'll give us a call first. I know you're going to call others, but call me first. And give me the opportunity to counter offer whatever someone else offers you. Just man to man, like handshake agreement. I don't need to contractually restrict someone from doing it unless I think they're lying. So to me, a 6-month buffer indicates to me that Tony thinks Malachi's lying, which I think is shitty. I thought that was shitty. I was like, wow, he doesn't believe him at all. But, you know, people want to sway it however they want to. WWE's evil for having 90 days. AEW is amazing for doing 6 months. They have a much longer NDA. WWE doesn't even have one because they say, go ahead, talk your shit. Because we're still going to be here doing our thing. I don't know.
Well, no,
weird,
when people talk the shit, they get sued, but, you know.
Depending on who's talking what type of shit. That's what we found out with CM Punk. He was talking major
Colt shouldn't have
shit.
never... That lawsuit in the podcast world, from what I've been told, was very monumental.
Yes.
Because this was the first time that a podcast with someone who had a podcast was being sued because of the content that was spewing out of another's mouth.
Yes.
Right.
But there's two sides to that. One, the reason WWE had to sue then is because the implications was illegal activity. It wasn't someone saying, Vince McMahon's a crazy old man who wants me to make jokes I don't want to make. He has too many fart jokes. I don't like fart jokes. This was them. This was someone saying, I know because I was there, they were doing illegal things and they should be shut down.
Yeah.
WWE didn't have a lot of choice but to contest the legalities of it, right?
Yeah.
The reason that you'd sue the podcast for what someone said is because it wasn't a live broadcast. You could have not released it. You could have said, hey, this is liable information. We may want to talk to a lawyer before releasing this, but to just willy-nilly do it, it's a bit, that's kind of why that was a mess, I think.
Yeah.
But
I always wondered, and this is a very good press question, is what you know now, you know, everything that, and this was after the lawsuit, I was waiting for someone to ask me, that had you known, you know, all of the bullshit, not the end of their friendship, but I'm talking about, you know, the lawsuit and stuff.
Yeah.
Would you still have done it? Would you still have put that out? I've never seen anyone ask him, and I've always been curious.
That'd be a great question to ask him.
Yeah, you might tell me to fuck off, but you know, whatever. Like, what are you gonna do? Block me on Twitter again? I'll just have more people tell you to unblock me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean,
yeah.
But it's really interesting that with Malachi Black, the shitty part of it is that I feel bad for Julia Hart, Brody King, and Buddy Matthews. What are you gonna do now?
I think they'll be able to actually maintain House of Black, just
You
given
think so?
the idea. Yeah, I think so, because at this point, how much of House of Black is because it's Malachi Black versus just this kind of pseudo supernatural entity? I think they'll be okay. I think they can do it.
Yeah.
I do feel
It's
that.
still a bummer. Still a
Yeah.
bummer. And I will say, if this is the end of the road, I'm still fucking pissed. I never got to see him wrestle.
I got to see him wrestle against Tommaso Ciampa.
I know, I hate you. And yeah, never. I got screwed out of that one. Thanks, Prestige Wrestling. And I'm not traveling to see fucking him wrestle. If I can't travel, if I'm not traveling to see my favorites,
Yeah.
the number one right now on my list is obviously we all know who.
Yeah.
So that's important to me.
Yeah, well, you're gonna have to wait till Ring of Honor tours.
Yeah. And I'm not talking about Ricky Stark's table. Not talking about Colt Cabana. Although I feel like he should come out here. And I just want to also say, if you're one of these fans who think you're smart and you see Colt Cabana and you start calling him Scott, I wouldn't do that if I were you.
Yeah, you're in for it.
Yeah, he'll be a fucking dick to you.
Yeah.
And when he wants to be a dick, he's a big fucking dick. I did tell him off once. Yeah, he never had seen that much rage out of me. He's like, oh my God. Chuck Taylor told me afterwards, he goes, I thought your head was going to spin around like in The Exorcist. I'm like, it almost did. Almost did, buddy. Yeah. So now what happens? People are suspended.
Yep.
Are people, do you think, going to get fired?
I don't know. I think it's weird. I've seen the conversation go back and forth on that the Elite should be fired, Punk should be fired. Punk did nothing wrong. All he did was defend himself from being ganged up on, and I don't buy any of that shit. I do think that what's interesting...
He called them out. He called them out.
I do think what's interesting about it is on Dynamite, they didn't mention any of their names at all. They did announce... Tony came out and read a bunch of cue cards, really obviously and kind of funny, to say that they vacated the Trios titles and the World Championship, and they're going to have a tournament for the World Championship, which will end in 2 weeks at Arthur Ashe Stadium at Grand Slam, and they're going to crown a new world champion. It looks like they're going to have... Let's see, Moxley got a bye, so the winner of Darby and... Who's the other little guy?
Fucking that little shit, Sammy Guevara. What the fuck?
They're going to have a match. One of them's going to lose to Moxley, because neither of those guys are beating Moxley. But it's probably going to be Darby to lose to Moxley, I would bet.
Probably. But you know what's funny to me is, so Tony, you're okay with rewarding people who aggravated somebody who you suspended for punching in the face, but you're rewarding them with this. Because, honestly, let's go there. Okay? After seeing All Out and what happened to fucking Ricky Starks, you know what? Why didn't you give Hobbs the opportunity?
Yeah,
why didn't you give Ricky the opportunity? We don't need to see these. I don't need to see freaking Time Mellow walk around and with her old man. Like, no, we don't want to see that. I don't want to see that.
He just tried to break a woman's neck on TV. But one of those guys is going to lose to Moxley, and now you've got Jericho versus Bryan Danielson, 2 or 3, and then the winner of that's going to face Moxley at Grand Slam, I'm sure. So, I would hope it'd be Daniel Bryan, that they would go that route. I don't need to see Moxley Jericho again, but Daniel Bryan Moxley could be fun. But so they're going to do that Tournament of Champions. And then the Trios title was recrowned tonight on Dynamite with Death Triangle over Best Friends. But at no point did anyone mention anything. Now, right after Tony makes that thing, MJF comes out, gets huge babyface reaction, eating it up, doing babyface type stuff. Moxley comes out and says, I don't believe you. I'm going to be honest. It was a fun MJF promo. It was not impressive. It was okay. It was the same old. Like when he wanted to turn bad again, he just said, everyone's fat and ugly. Okay. Everyone's fat and ugly. But Moxley's promo here was wowing. This was the best promo he's ever cut. Talking about the importance of the AEW title, what it means to him, what it means to other people. What he was saying without saying it was, how dare someone hold that championship and talk this way about us and who we represent and what we represent and what we always wanted to be. And he even said, let a lot of the old ways die with the old ones. Like, you came in here to bring what you guys used to know, and even you, who wanted a revolution back then, brought in all of the worst of it. You didn't even bring the best of it. And I loved the way that Moxley said, it's time to step up and be a legend. Which is a knock on CM Punk for A, never being referred to as a legend in the WWE. He doesn't have no Legends contract. But also to say, we need new legends now. Because these old legends we're bringing in aren't cutting it. And they're making it worse. And I need to be that legend here now. It was almost a call to action onto himself. Of, I could do more. He's already coming off like a leader and came across like, I need to do more.
Yeah, I think that was also a shot at Jericho too.
It could have been a shot at Jericho too. But
I think, but
I got the impression, because we've talked about it before, Moxley comes off a lot like he's doing what he wants to do and he's having fun and, oh, fuck it, let them do whatever they're doing. I'm doing my thing, they're doing their thing. I want to do GCW, I'm going to do it. They're goofing off, but, you know, I'm going to have my fun matches with who I want. This sounded like he was shook enough to say, I can't just say fucking whatever anymore. I need to be an example. I need to be a representative. I need to stand for what brought me here. Not necessarily what brought us all to the dance, but why did Moxley come from WWE to AEW? That feeling, that desire, all of that is what he needs to represent now to that whole locker room, because they need it now more than ever. Because now what brought Punk here versus what brought Moxley here are two different stories. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And I think, I also think too, with Mox, I mean, I'd never seen him speak like this. So I think I had asked you the question of, well, who wrote this?
Yeah.
Because it was like pretty, you know, I mean, as much as I kind of shit on Mox and I'm like, oh, I'm sick of this shit and blah, blah, blah. This was a good way to say that, you know, I'm taking this shit seriously. I'm not just, you know, I don't want to be handed things. And yeah, it's kind of shitty that, you know, all of this bullshit happened, you know, and it's frustrating because if anybody, it was like, you know, what? It's like he almost, it makes him look bad too.
Yep.
Yeah. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I really hope the other wake up call is to Tony, that he needs to stop being the fanboy and taking this shit seriously. There are quite a number of people I was reading today that also are suspended, which I'm kind of in shock by some of them, but I understand why they were there.
Yeah, I think the idea is, well, for one, the one that really stood out to me was Christopher Daniels.
And Pat Buck.
And Pat Buck. Pat Buck was a big one, but what made Christopher Daniels like especially egregious to me was he was just recently named the head of talent relations. And you're fucking leading a charge into fucking this shit talker's room. Like, you should have been the guy in between, being like, guys, hold on, let's give it a day and sit down and talk about it. But he's all,
that could have been why, like, Pat Buck and him, like, they were like some of the people trying to pull, you know, them apart. Like, what the fuck?
Could have been.
Yeah.
Could have been. But yeah, I mean, the fact that that they were, so basically what it sounded like, or what the word is anybody and everybody who was in that room is suspended while they have a third party investigate. So I'm sure they're having like the security guards. I've heard rumors that they have anybody who was in the locker room, everybody who was backstage has been interviewed. People were called on Zoom and recorded as to what their take is, what it was, what did they see, what is their feeling about it, to try and get as many people not involved to weigh in. Because obviously if you're involved, you're going to have a specific take on it. So like, hey, random stagehand, what did that look like to you? Like, I think that's a smart way to go about it.
There are people that I'm really curious to know what their opinion is.
There's people who what?
There's people that I'm very curious to know what their opinion is.
Yes. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I like the ones that said there's some people who said they didn't think that Punk did anything wrong, and I was like, oh, I don't want to say it's FTR, but that sounds like FTR to me.
Oh, you know who else I think it probably is too?
Huh. Oh yeah, I can see that.
Which,
But then again, I could see him playing the middle because I hate to say it, and I apologize. I think he's a kiss ass just trying to politic his way as far as he can.
no shit. No
You know what I
shit.
mean?
I said this on episode 1.
And
I did.
I'm
I'll
not
say
saying,
it.
I'm not even saying it's necessarily a bad thing, but I think that he's not one to take sides without knowing who's going to come out on top, because I think he's whatever it takes. And I think that's why he'll make it, because whatever it takes. Whose ass do I got to kiss this month? Right.
What shocks me is because he's like definitely like Team Cody. Okay. So
Yeah.
no qualms about, pledging his loyalty to.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm pretty sure Cody must have, Phil, I would cut that shit off because, everyone knows Phil only does what serves Phil.
Yes.
And I've said that before. I've only met the guy once. And I thought he was a douche canoe. There was a feeling I got. Those guys are not good people. And that's already what made my opinion. But then everything else that happened really picked a side. But, people forget. Oh, yeah, that was the other comment I wanted to make. So everyone who thinks it's funny about Colt and his mom having a bank account together.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you all know in the first two and a half years of when Punk was in WWE, do you know where he lived? You?
With his mom?
Because I know where he lived.
Do you live with his mom?
No. He lived on Scott Colton's couch in the studio apartment. Because
that doesn't make sense because they've never been friends. They've never been friends.
They weren't friends. He was over that a decade ago. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And part of it was like when Colt finally was in developmental, because he went to OVW, I believe. Yeah. And then Punk lived there. He lived there rent free. Let's go there. Okay? Yeah. Rent free. Okay? And you're going to bitch about paying somebody's bills when that's all you did is that apartment is tiny as fuck, or was tiny as fuck because you don't live there anymore. But
and what
for
a
you to
bitchy,
say
whiny
that
line when he said the two people who've made the most money off of the CM Punk name was Vince and Scott Colton. I was like, get your head out of your ass.
And then you know what I said? It's like, oh, he forgot two people. He forgot Pro Wrestling Tees has made a lot of money off his ass, and probably his wife.
His wife, himself, he's made more money than all of them. You don't think CM Punk's made money off his own name?
Maybe he did, coming off of when he went to UFC and he was doing all that shit on TMC with Walking Dead.
His fights alone in the UFC were multi-million-dollar fights, and he lost them.
He got fucking bitched out is what he did.
He did, because of his name. I'm saying the CM Punk name, he didn't make nothing. He's trying to say Colt Cabana made more money off CM Punk's name than he did himself or his wife. The fuck out of here, dude. Like, you come off like a petulant child. Like, fuck off.
I think maybe are you poking at the Colt Cabana tax? That's the only thing I can think of is the Colt Cabana tax. But, I can say this honestly. A normal person doesn't do something for somebody and expects it back, especially when you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna, I'll take care of it. Yeah. And you swear up and down, you promise, and then that person's like, okay, cool. Because at the time of this lawsuit, Colt Cabana did not make the money he's making now. Yes. Okay, but let's be real. Let's go there.
And even through the pro wrestling tees, Punk makes $10 a shirt that's sold. Colt gets one. If you want to go by the rumors, right? Because I don't know everything, But I know that we got $7 a shirt when we were on PWTs, and I know that the bigger stars get more of a cut. They get a little bit more, so they get around the $10 range. There's a certain point. I mean, he might even be in the other reverse of it, where PWTs only makes the $7 on each shirt, and you get 15 on each of them. So he's making between 10 and 15 a shirt. And if you want to believe in the Colt Cabana tax, which I'm not going to confirm or deny, that's $1. So if you want to tell me he's making more money than you per shirt, like, fuck off, dude. Like, you're trying to raise animosity where there is none because you're such a petulant child. You're trying to create a narrative that's just factually inaccurate in the same breath that you're trying to tell everybody else that they're reporting incorrect shit as you're spewing lies that are clear as day to these people who have to go report it. They're reporting your lies, dude.
Yeah. And I think that if this means anything to anybody, I'm pretty sure, and I would love to hear from Ryan Barkin. So was the merch deal was it considered like, if you get rid of them, you might have to rethink this merchandising stuff?
I honestly thought that was the only reason why Colt got signed to AEW to begin with, was because of PWTs.
No. Mm-mm.
He wasn't exactly coming off this hot, fiery thing. His friendship with the Bucks and his connection to PWTs, I thought, was the reason why they brought him in. Because the Bucks and PWTs together were just kind of like, look, this is a match made.
You know why Colt did not go to AEW when it started, right? It's because he was under contract with Ring of Honor still.
So there's a contract with NWA at the time.
Okay. He was under, because this started, All Out was what, 2018? So 2019?
But also Ring of Honor and NWA had a working relationship at that time that he was doing both.
Mm-hmm. They did.
Yeah.
But also with Ring of Honor, the contract that Colt had, from what I've been told, is he could work wherever, because he was not going to lock himself into something where he only could work for Ring of Honor. He can only do, because that's what the Ring of Honor talent, they could only do PWG, a handful of other things like New Japan, la 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 la, but they couldn't do indie things. Mm-hmm. Colt was like, no, if I'm coming back, that's like my other bread and butter. No.
Yeah.
And after a while, after he got stuck on commentary and he really wanted to wrestle more, he took a lot more gigs to wrestle outside of Ring of Honor. So yes, I am a Colt Cabana historian. So yes, I will know.
I wonder if, because I did think this at a different time. Mm-hmm. There is a world that this hurts Colt. As of right now, no. But there is a world where if the Elite and Punk are out of AEW, because I'm already seeing posts, people saying, can you believe AEW is falling apart over this guy, and sharing pictures of Colt. I could see a world where he's getting booked on shows, and not that he would stop being offered the bookings, but they might stop being fun. He might be getting approached by assholes left and right at a certain point, and that would suck.
Yeah, I know that. I know that's obvious.
It may not happen, but there's a world where that happens.
Well, I think, there is a world where that happens. But the thing is, there is an interview that he did. I think, did I show you the link to it? Where he did with this dude. And
yeah. It was great.
Yeah. He shut that down real quick.
Yeah.
Right?
He's like, what do you think about Punk coming back? And he goes, you just made that up. So funny. Yeah. You made it up right now. And he's like, run back the tape. You just made it up right now. And he goes, first off, if he ever came back, which he's not coming back. And he's like, whatever. And it was so funny the way he handled it. It was just like throwing it back in the guy's face and kind of laughing at him. Like, you're trying to instigate a thing.
Colt does that very well.
Yeah, he's all like, you made that up to try and get a thing out of me. Like, what are you doing? Like, you think I can't see that coming a mile away?
Yeah,
so I could see a world where he stops having fun doing meet and greets. He might show up and do a match, but not be at the table anymore.
Oh, but that's
if enough assholes show up. I know. And to be honest, even since NWA, and since, I would say in the last year that you and I have been doing the show, the more I wish. I mean, I wish I could have gone back to a few things. Like, I stood right next to him for a number of minutes at StarCast when I was there at Double or Nothing, and we made eye contact, and I kind of said hi, and he
That's the
said
first
hi.
one?
No, it's the second or third,
Okay.
second one. It was the second one.
Okay.
Or it was the third one. I don't remember. It was StarCast Vegas.
Mhm.
And I said hi to him because I knew who he was, and he had the NWA National Championship right there.
Mhm.
But I didn't say anything to him, and I didn't get anything from him, and I didn't really talk to him because I hadn't seen too much of NWA at the time. We were starting to watch it. I wasn't a massive fan of some of his comedy wrestling, which I've gone on here before and said, wish it didn't do that. I remember we were doing watch-alongs to NWA, and he was having a match. We're like, this is awesome. And then he goes and does the Superman pin. I was like, why the fuck would, like, I didn't like that pin, right? And I get it. We've talked about it.
You need to see one of the best Colt Cabana matches that I swear it's probably one of my favorites, and that is the Iron Man that he did with Liesel when Liesel was the ROH champ. That was the last time Cole had ever wrestled for that belt. And
sure, but what I'm saying is,
amazing.
I have a whole other appreciation and respect for him nowadays. To given the same opportunity, I would have taken a lot more advantage of the situation and talked to him probably a lot more about stuff.
Oh yeah.
So in my mind, in the past year, it's been like, man, I'm keeping track of where he's going because if he comes near me, I want to go see it. Like if he ends up in LA, if he ends up San Diego, if he ends up in Arizona, like I'm gonna check that out. But I mean, he stays in his little coop over there, so he's just not doing it. But the idea that all this is happening now is like, well, there's a world where that becomes less and less likely for him to branch out away from his hometown where he knows that people are going to be there.
Well, the last time he was out west, he was at Lucha Vavoom, which is a real fun show, but he was Matt Classic's handler, so you didn't really get to see him a lot. You had to know where to find him. But I mean, I think that no, if I have it my way, he'll be here. He'll be on the West Coast soon, and wherever he goes, I'm going to go.
We got to see if David Marquez can book him. You know, they're friends.
Marquez did just recently. I couldn't go to it at the Improv.
What?
Oh my God, Marquez loves him some Colt. Yeah, Colt was on Championship Wrestling.
When?
A couple, like a little over a month ago. It was during the week. I couldn't go. I wanted to go really bad.
Like a month ago, doing Marquez's show, which I've been trying to find a good time to go to.
All right, you got to keep watching it so we can go. Because I was like, oh man, but I thought I told you that on episode 1 that he was doing that with Marquez, and I was sad because I couldn't go.
Maybe we'll see. I'll tell you right now that this month, right now, September-ish to early October is going to be probably the best month for me to try and get back out to LA. But just scheduling wise, I've got a lot more free time right now that I may not have next month.
Yeah.
But
no.
Was there anything anything else you wanted to put out there about the MJF promo or the Mox promo leading into this, or this Dynamite, which has been a pretty solid Dynamite for the most part? Yeah. Yuta loses. I know it's not quite over yet, so you don't know, but he's about to lose
I knew that.
Yeah, he's about to lose the. There he goes. He tapped out. He tapped out even. Yuta taps out to Daniel Garcia, loses the pure title. So now professional wrestler Daniel Garcia is the pure wrestling champion. He's no longer a sports entertainer, which I think is a stupid storyline, but it's good for Daniel Garcia.
But you know what, Daniel Garcia, when he's not doing this jokey ass bullshit, is actually very, very good. So kudos.
He's got an ego problem. I'll be honest. I've seen a bunch of interviews with him. He's got an ego that's got to be checked as well. So we'll see what happens with him in the future.
Yeah, he does. I never talked. I didn't talk to him when he was at whatchamacallit. I've talked to Nick Wayne a bunch. But those young guys, some of these young guys have good heads on their shoulders. Some of them do not.
Anything else you want to say about the Dynamite, the promos, the Scrum, anything that you didn't get out? Because that's the other idea. We didn't really say it at the top of the hour, at the top of our show, I should say, is that we're getting all this out now because we knew it was going to be a longer conversation, and we do still want to have a drink with our drinking buddies tomorrow night and talk NXT. They had an amazing premium live event over the weekend, followed by a really great episode of NXT yesterday, and we wanted to make sure that we didn't just skip over all of it because of how much chaos is happening in the AEW world. So we're kind of splitting it. I don't think tomorrow we'll have much to say about AEW. I think it's going to be primarily an NXT episode.
Every day, new shit comes out. So.
Oh yeah, we'll find out if there's any more news coming out.
Probably there'll be more news.
Yeah. AEW does end with Daniel Bryan and shaking the hand of Garcia, Jericho overacting, a look of concern. But I'm more excited for a world of AEW without the Elite and without Punk than I have been since before Punk's return. I mean, I've said it over and over again. A lot of times I'm enjoying a show and then the Elite come out and make me turn it off. I'm really excited to see who steps up and where this goes personally.
Well, my big problem with it is we're back to the same old, same old. Look at that tournament. There are about like maybe 3 or 4 people that should be in the tournament that are not in that tournament. You know, have one of those people, Hobbs or Starks, or have I'm trying to think of who else would be good in that. Have somebody else create a new dark horse in the running. Hell, you should put Wheeler Yuta in it. You know.
I yes and no. I would say I disagree with you in the idea that there is so much chaos happening right there. Do what you can to play the safe cards, get through this.
But you're putting someone who was in controversy recently, and it feels like it's a reward. I'm talking about Guevara.
Oh yeah, I think they should put the world title should have gone to Kingston.
That's another person who should be part of it.
Well,
Kingston.
I mean, so the joke also is this: is that I do think the AEW needs a really big feel-good moment. It would be ironic and funny because Kingston just came off a suspension for fighting in the back. But in my defense, that's what makes him a locker room leader. He set a trend that CM Punk followed up on. You know what I mean? He's like, hey guys, you can fight in the back now, and now they're all doing it. So, trendsetter, locker room leader, you know.
Yep.
But it would be a feel-good moment, especially because the amount of fandom that came out on his behalf because of that fight, because he was defending himself from someone fat-shaming him, it would be quite a statement, you know?
Yeah, and Guevara, see, that's the other thing that bites me too. And it's not because I don't like him, but why didn't he get in trouble? Like, right now you suspended, like, Brandon Cutler and Nakazawa for now because they were in the room, you know? And I'm pretty sure, I don't think Brandon Cutler he was probably trying to pull people off. I could see Nakazawa doing that. I can see most of those people who were in that room were trying to pull people off of each other. You know, because you got a guy biting somebody, you know, you need to, this guy's obviously, if he's biting someone, it could go even uglier, you know? So, you know, and it, you know, I don't know. But also, I can also see with Kenny and the dog, because apparently the dog was really barking and agitated. The dog could have bit somebody, you know. So that's why I think Kenny got rid of the dog. But I really do think that
Tony did the right thing on the bracket just to play it safe with who he trusts. You know what I mean? You don't want you've only got 2 weeks to get there. So do the safe, quick, easy thing, get there, and now figure out what's on the other side. Create a new dark horse on the other side of the Grand Slam.
But then we get did you see the fallout after All Out?
Of what?
Ricky had a cut a promo.
Where?
It was pretty good. You could see how frustrated he was about everything. So obviously his stuff with Hobbs is not over yet.
That was on
the
what
factory
show? That was on BTE?
No, it wasn't on BTE. It's on AEW's YouTube channel.
All right, I'll go back and look at that. But To be
Yeah.
honest, I mean, Punk did everything he could to make sure that nobody was coming out a bigger star out of All Out at all, and that everyone was
Nope.
going to be trash and have to build back up from scratch. So that's good. But yeah, anything else that you think we need to get out about AEW before we go into NXT tomorrow?
I will say that it was after watching both Clash at the Castle and then watching Worlds Collide,
Mm-hmm.
this AEW is very predictable. You know, I don't it's very interesting to me how I think the fans are going to react, because in that scene, in the audience, in the crowd, it's always dominated by CM Punk t-shirts.
Yes.
And I'm curious to see what the shift is. You don't necessarily see a lot of young bucks. I mean, you see the old Bullet Club because, you know, that's still a staple. But it'll be very interesting to see the shirts, because I'm always one who looks to see what shirts people have on that are in the front. Just to kind of get a gauge if they are wearing a wrestling t-shirt, get a gauge of where they are. Still see quite a few Cody Rhodes shirts to this day. But also it's very interesting because you know, you don't see the Elite and the Bucks and all of them. You don't see Kenny. You really don't see a lot of their shirts in the crowd. You don't. So that's what makes part of it interesting to me too.
Yeah.
So definitely, you know, it'll be interesting to see what happens. It'll also be interesting to see if anything happens with Punk's Pro Wrestling Tees shop. That's the other one I want to keep an eye on. And then I wonder if people are gonna politic to get him not having a figure. All I know is this: Tony Khan, now that fucking Cabana got that dirty little secret is pretty much true.
Yeah.
You know, you throw a person a bone, give fucking Colt a figure, okay? That's all. One little figure. I'm sure we don't need Kenny Omega 2017. We don't need I don't need CM Punk 24, even though he's only been here a year and already he has like 10 figures. I don't need that. Definitely don't need.
I mean, they're still pumping out Cody figures.
Yeah, they're putting out 2 more. I'm like, what the? He's
So,
gone. Like, are you trying to bait him back? He ain't coming back for quite a while or never.
I even tweeted out that my favorite Cody Rhodes WrestleMania figure is the AEW one, because they came out with that big set that's his fucking WrestleMania gear. I was like, it's so dope.
Oh my god. Well, I will also say this about the figures, because we were talking about Malachi Black, that figure with all the different masks and stuff. I don't know if it's a chase or if it's one of those ones you pay for like $40 or whatever for, but I think I want one of those.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
Still
looking for Darby, but I will take that Malachi Black. I'll buy one because it's badass looking. Even Brody King's is going to be badass. So it's a shame, but I hope they still continue House of Black. And then I think PWG, next time they have PWG, they haven't announced anything and I haven't asked around, but I definitely would like to go, because if certain people are going to go back to certain old stomping grounds, then it would be really kind of cool to see the Kings of the Black Throne. I don't know who would take the belts from them, but it would be cool to see that. Maybe we'll get Rascals 2.0. I don't know. That might happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because Trey Miguel's looking excellent up there with Zachary Wentz. So. And then Scissor Me Daddy Ass. I think I want that shirt. I don't know why. I'm stupid, but whatever. All I know is when their figures come out, if they don't have an interchangeable hand that you could do that with, then why even make a figure?
Yeah, watch them just have complete fists the whole time. You're like, this is stupid. Worst figure
Yep.
ever.
There you go. Well, that's it for me. I don't have
Yeah.
anything else.
I was kind of underwhelmed by All Out. I'm about to post as well our watch along to the Ricky Starks match, which was incredibly disappointing.
That was very
Um,
disappointing.
It was live at the time, and it's on our YouTube and our Twitch. But I figure I'll go ahead and drop the audio for it. It was like 20 minutes, so might as well.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And
that was
also-
disappointing. All Out overall was kind of disappointing.
I think the Scrim was probably better than All Out.
Yeah, it was definitely the wildest, and I've seen so many takes on it where people are defending so much crazy shit.
Oh,
And
well,
when I went back to
well-
watch it, the irony to me when I watched it
Mhm.
is it was so much worse than it seemed like online. Online made it sound bad, but when I watched it, I was like, this is way worse than I thought. He is like scummy here. Where I just thought he had a few moments of being an asshole where he's like, oh, looks like a little bit of asshole popped out. He was nonstop, beginning to end, a miserable piece of shit, talking as much shit as he could about
That's
everyone
him
he could
always.
think of. It was fucking bizarre.
That's him always. But you know what we didn't touch on was Tony. And that
Mhm.
whole, I'm not gonna take shit from it. What was going on with Tony Khan? What was that
yeah.
all about?
Well, he blames WWE. I loved it. He said that he feels like he knows what it was like to be Jim Crockett Promotions, and I was like, no, you don't.
And he's like, yeah, but we have money. And I
Yeah.
thought that was the most arrogant thing to say.
It was also funny too because a bunch of people were talking about how WWE was saying they're not competition. He kept saying we are competition, and then so when suddenly they do something that seems like competition, he's like, wait, this isn't fair. I mean, it's like, you want to be competition so bad, and they treat you a little bit like competition. Which, by the way, I don't think for a second that they booked both of those shows that weekend to compete with AEW. Like, no, it's
No.
all fine. Matter of
But
fact, their
this-
shows were free. This wasn't like, because he's trying to compare it to when Vince went to the cable companies and said, if you carry Starcast, I won't give you Mania, which he did. And so a lot of the cable companies refused to house Starcast. In turn, as a make good, he gave them Survivor Series. That's why we have Survivor Series, is it was meant to contest Starcast. So cable companies weren't losing off on 2 paydays. They were getting 2 from WWE, but they couldn't get it from Crockett. Peacock's $5 a month. You get Worlds Collide and Clash of the Castle. No one was sitting there trying to figure out if they're spending money on WWE or AEW this week. They knew ahead of time they were either going to buy the pay-per-view or not. No one watched Worlds Collide and said, well, now I can't afford AEW. It's $5 that they were paying anyways for the whole thing. So it's not the same as
Mine was
Crockett,
technically free because it comes with my internet.
right? A lot of companies are giving Peacock for free, so it was the stupidest comment, I thought. I know what it's like to be them.
But I
You
have
don't.
NBC Universal Comcast, so yeah.
You don't. You don't know what it's like to be them at all.
No.
Mm-hmm. But I think that's all I got about AEW this week. We'll talk NXT tomorrow. Worlds Collide, NXT. I gotta watch this week. I saw a bunch of highlights. It looks great.
And I will say this too. Okay, I did watch Clash at the Castle, but I will say that I feel that I really like Sing Along with Drew. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
It was a real good feel good moment. I liked it. And he randomly, I don't know what, wanted to sing Sweet Caroline and they ended up with Oasis. That was fucking great. Like, this is great.
It was really weird. I don't know.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, I thought it was great. Yeah, and shout out to Kevin Owens for being such a fucking smart ass in his comments. A lot of people have had comments to say
Mhm.
that are very in the ways they're doing it. They're not very complimentary to Punk. Yeah, but that Kevin Owens one was probably the best one.
Oh, I was hoping you would have seen that and caught it. Yeah, the Kevin Owens comment. We've dealt with egotistical, delusional people of the past. Like that was.
You know, my
definitely a good
favorite was the photo.
thing. Oh, so on Raw, he cut a promo where he was cutting a promo on Austin Theory, and had talked about how this company in this industry has seen a lot of egotistical and delusional people come and go. And he goes, "We've dealt with them in the past, and we'll deal with you now. But like the way he did it and paused, I was like, he's talking about Punk. He's talking about Punk right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, he posted the WrestleMania picture, the match against Stone Cold that Punk never got. KO did. KO and Colt being friends. I loved it. Yeah.
They're very, to this day, they're very, very good friends. They're still, it's one of like Colt's like best friends out there. And I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah.
People are petty, but you know what? Honestly, like Colt has gotten shit on so much by Punk, and a lot of people where Punk actually demanded people choose a side. Colt never did that.
Mm-hmm.
He never asked any of those guys and gals choose a side.
Well, and everyone in wrestling who was ever close to Punk has gone on record at one point or another and said about how Punk just turned their back on them.
Swoggle.
As soon as he left, he was just an asshole to everybody after that.
Mm-hmm.
Like Corey Graves has been online. He's complained about it in the past. And
didn't he talk shit about Corey Graves too? I think so.
Scrum, but yeah, he did. That's what I mean. He told everyone he was close to, fuck off, get away from me, effectively. I'm never talking to you again. Kingston and him were very close, which has also made it kind of shitty when he brought up Kingston in that promo. Second best Kingston I ever worked with. Why the fuck did you tell Kofi to go fuck himself then? Like,
yeah, like what the fuck? Yeah, let's see what happens when Eddie punches you in the mouth.
Yeah.
You know?
Sick. But we'll be back tomorrow to talk Worlds Collide, NXT, and we'll see where things are going. AEW, to be honest, it's a total mess, but in my mind, it's looking up. Because they're getting rid of a lot of the stuff I didn't like to watch anyways. So this could start to get really fun for me. And
yeah, but it would have been really nice, Tony Khan, if you had let Scott Colton be in that tournament.
No, not a chance. Because the thing is I think that there's still a part, because he didn't mention anybody getting fired, and no one's like off the roster page and all of that. I think that there is a part of Tony that wants the dust to settle, and I don't think he wants to let any of them go. I do think that he wants to hold on to him, because it is like...
You can't survive like that.
Not at all.
No.
But that's not what he's trying to... Like, but he's been buying friends since it started, right? He doesn't want to lose some of his friends now that he's bought. So I think he's going to try and figure out if he can keep them and then see what happens in a couple weeks.
Well, if he keeps anything, it ain't going to be Ace Steel and CM Punk.
We'll see. I don't know.
He'd be a fool. Because after that now, nobody in the locker room, they're just going to be all, why does he get his own locker room?
You know, it'd be fucking cool if he tried to bring out CM Punk and the audience like collectively starts to walk out and go towards concessions and stuff, and you just see the just waves of people as though this.
Oh, I would be one of them.
It'd be amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, we'll be back. We'll talk more about it tomorrow. We'll see what's going on. Until then, we'll see you guys right here in the dive bar of the IWC. That's the last call.
Cheers.
Hey, producer lady here. Thanks for tuning in. Continue to support us or buy us a drink by following and putting the I in subscribe on Twitch. Or subscribe and review our podcast on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to us. Cheers!
I would never have a drink with wrestling on the rocks.